Hello and welcome to episode 24 of Maul It Up Fuzzball. I'm your host Brian, aka Holy Effing S, Yellow Maul is pretty good. I am back from Worlds and it was such an amazing experience and I want to tell you all about it. So this episode is a special episode of me just talking about my short 48 hours up in Minnesota to play some Star Wars Destiny. There was a lot to go over. I'll certainly talk about my Maul deck, because I did make some changes from last episode and how it went. I also want to just talk about how I spent my time hanging out with the Star Wars Destiny community and some of the cool things that I did or I experienced, and just give you a kind of a play-by-play. So it might run a little bit on the long side, but I'm just super excited, right? I had such an amazing time, being able to spend time with just amazing people playing a game we all love. It was really, really special. And I just want to go over that, right? We'll get back to your regularly scheduled jank in episode 25. But a lot of ground to cover. So a lot of ground to cover. Let me dive in first and just say that Janking Up Fuzzball's a year old. How crazy is that? This past Sunday, October 20th, marked the 1-year anniversary of my very first episode, which I will suggest you never, ever, ever go back and listen to. But a year. I made it a year. I did 24 episodes in a year or 23 episodes in a year, which is pretty incredible. And, there were moments of the summer where I thought, man, I don't know if I'm going to make it a year. I don't know if I want to make it a year. But going to Worlds really rekindled my love of content creation and being able to meet so many people, many of whom I had heard of, but many of whom who I had no idea. They just came up to me and said, hey, I've listened to your pod. And I'm like, wow, it's really humbling to have people come up and say that. And so to all of you that did that or took a moment to acknowledge Jank It Up Fuzzball, I just heartfelt thanks for all of that. Where to begin? So like I said, this is going to be a normal episode in that I have a pack to crack at the end, so I'm excited about that. And also I'm going to have a giveaway. I came home with loot. I came home with prizes. And, I know I'm fortunate in having the opportunity to go to Worlds, especially since it was open invitation. And many of my supporters did not. Totally reasonable. And so I came home with a bunch of the monochromatic cards. If you've seen some of them, they're pretty awesome. And at the end of this episode, if you stay and you listen through the end, listen past the outro music, I will tell you how I'm going to give away, today I'm going to give away a General Grievous monochromatic card. Not a foil, but still a General Grievous monochromatic card picked up from the prize wall at Worlds in Minnesota. I'm going to give it away to a listener. There's a small thing you have to do, but it's easy enough. And so I would encourage you to listen through. You can skip ahead if you want, but I'm going to talk about what Worlds meant to me as a casual player and how it went. And I hope you'll follow along for that. I thought several times about how to go about this because I think there are people that want to hear how my deck performed and how I did in the actual tournament. And then I also just want to kind of honor and discuss all of the great stuff that happens outside of that tournament, right? Outside of necessarily playing in Destiny. And rather than divide those into two separate sections, I just want to go through my couple of days there and start, chronologically and just go through it and discuss me flying in on Thursday and what I did Thursday, and then playing the tournament on Friday and going to the meetup Friday night, and then grinding a few pawns on Saturday and then heading out. So if that sounds good to you, it's good to me. And let's just dive right in.
Echo Base. I've got something. Not much, but it could be a life form.
So I've never been to Minnesota. And I'm from Houston. And so Thursday I flew up. I had to I caught a flight. I changed flights in Kansas City and I got up to Minnesota and I took an Uber from the airport to my hotel. I went ahead and splurged on a hotel that was really close to the venue, like half block away. And then it's probably like a 6 or 7 or 8 minute walk to get to the actual venue where it was, but not bad. And I know there were other people, content creators were staying really close to either in my hotel or close to my hotel. So that was cool. And there were lots of restaurants and bars nearby. So that was also a plus. But I splurged on that. I stayed by myself. I didn't do any kind of crazy Airbnb. And that was fine. That was great for me. I had a wonderful time. In Minnesota, the weather was great. I was always thinking it'd be way too cold or way too rainy. And it wasn't cold and it was only rainy just a little bit on Saturday morning, and then it was just clear skies and beautiful. So my Uber driver going to the airport on Saturday insisted that it wasn't always like that, but it was pretty cool. I will say that. And it looked beautiful. It's nice to see trees that actually turn colors. In Texas, we basically have green trees in the fall, or we have trees with no leaves. I think we have like 2 days of fall where there's color, but by and large, we have a bunch of evergreens, or we have trees that just drop their green leaves, and that's it. So, Minnesota, hat tip to you for being really picturesque for the trip. So, thank you for that. So I arrive and I drop off my luggage at the hotel, and I go straight to the venue because I want to get in there and just grind pods, do things, get tickets, right? Because tickets are your gateway into the prizes. So that's cool. And I had my one deck, so I'll talk about that in a second. But I actually brought 2 decks with me. I brought my Maul Mando deck, which I discussed, and then I brought Palp Val, and it was all ready to go, all sleeved up, except for like 5 cards, like 2 Forsaken, 1 or 2 Hidden Motive, and probably a Desperate Measures from my Maul deck that I would switch over. I ended up not playing the Pop deck at all, and I literally played the Maul deck the entire 2 days I was there. Grinding pods or playing in the tournament, that's what I played. That was really great. I saw lots of people, or I met lots of great people, and they brought several decks, and they were swapping them out, and that was awesome. And I wish, had I had a deck that I didn't have to de-sleeve anything, had I put in the time to build like a janky red deck or something, then probably in some of the pods, especially after the tournament, it would have been nice to take a breather from Maul. But that's what I had, and that's what I played. So I sit down. If you're not familiar with pods, how they work, and again, I assume I'm speaking mostly to a casual audience. So if you didn't make the trip and you're not familiar with pods, you pay $5, which was, I hear, a discount from last year. But $5, you and 7 other people get in a pod, and you square off and you play 3 rounds. So after the first round, you have 4 1-0s and 4 0-1s, and they pair off. And after the second round, you have 2 players that are 2-0, and they square off. And so at the end of 3 rounds, you have a 3-0 winner, 3 2-1s, 3 1-2s, and 1 0-3. And it just allows you to meet people and play some Destiny. And even if you don't win any of your games, just by participating in the pod, you get 4 tickets. And then for each win, you get an extra ticket. And then if you win the pod, you get 2 bonus tickets. So if you win the pod after like an hour or hour and 20 minutes, you have 9 tickets, which is amazing, right? That's a spot gloss and then some. And if you lose the pod, you still have 4 tickets, which is a bag of those really awesome Clone Troopers shield tokens, which kind of seem to be all the rage. So that's kind of how pods are set up. I got there in time to grind 3 pods on Thursday before they kind of shut down. And my very first pod, my very first match, and this is significant, I'm playing Yellow Maul, and I sit down against Red Maul. And, if you followed along, that's been the debate between me and Kevin from Roll On. And, he thinks Red's the way to go. I've thought Yellow was the way to go. And I still believe that, but I believe it for slightly different reasons from what I gave originally. But this player with the Red Maul put down Maul's lightsaber turn 1 and proceeded to roll hot and just kick my tail, like just destroyed me. And my confidence was a little shaken, right? I was like, oh man, it's going to be a long weekend. And I think the second game I played up against someone else who was 0-1. I think I won that. And then in the third game I lost. So my first pod I was 1-2, but I got 5 tickets just from winning that. And that was awesome. And I bought a blind bag. So in a blind bag at Worlds, they gave 2 monochromatics and usually 1 foil. I think my foil was Holdo, right? So I got a couple of, I think I got Little Anakin and then Han 4 and Holdo. So not the sexiest foil you could get, but that's fine. I ended up playing 2 more pods, and I went, in the next 2 pods, I each went 2-0 heading into the third matchup. So I was in the kind of the quote-unquote finals of the pod. I lost both of those, so I finished them both 2-1. But I had more tickets, and then I spent those tickets on more blind bags. And I ended up getting, like, my next 2 foils were both Imperial Death Troopers from the upcoming set. And that was kind of a bummer. At that point, I said, I'm not going to buy any more blind bags because I got a foil I didn't really care about. And then I got 2 foils that are the same of a kind of a non-unique character, but they can be run elite. So I don't know. It was fine. But I decided after that, I wouldn't spend any more of my money on blind bags. I'd just buy the cards I want, or I'd buy other things. And that's what I did. What was great, though, about playing 3 pods, you meet a lot of people, and I kind of wandered around. I started spotting some people, so I started recognizing, like, hey, there's Claus from Your Destiny, or there's Amanda, Jedi Geek Girl from I Rebel. And I finally honed in on Kevin from Roll On. So I saw him. I saw producer Pops, who I recognize from Instagram. And I find the scruffy looking dice rollers, and shout out to Richard and Luke. Those guys were amazing to meet. And we traded alt art, and I feel like we became fast friends. They're great guys. And, they seem just as excited to see me as I was to see them. If you don't follow the scruffy looking dice rollers, please do that. They are a wonderful mixture of competitive and casual and jank. Luke's nickname is Dr. Jenkenstein, which I think is just amazing. And Richard was running Maul for the tournament like me. He was running Red Maul, but I was running Yellow Maul. And so it was just great to meet some of these people face to face. They came from the UK, so they made quite a journey to get here. That was awesome. And I ran into Brian from Golden Dice along with Eldis and Flockton. And so, meeting up with them was awesome. And then they said, hey, we're going out to dinner later if you want to meet up. I said, I would love to. And so we did that. Later that night, there's a restaurant near our hotels, and we went there, and it's just so amazing, right? Here are these people that I've conversed with, I've talked to through various social media and Discords, but to hang out in the person, to be able to buy them beers, to be able to just chill out and just hear stories about what they do and jokes and things. It's really, really, really great. And, there was a moment Thursday night where I was kind of starstruck, and it's hard to explain, but, we all listened, or I'm assuming you listen to other Star Wars Destiny podcasts. I'm sure most of you probably listen to Airboat Gaming. If you're a competitive player, it's probably one of the best competitive podcasts out there. And we're at this restaurant, and at one point I turn around, and at the table behind us, it's kind of like a bar table, so it's a high table, but there's Airboat Gaming, right? There's Drew and Paul and Kyle and Cody and Edwin, the defending world champion, are there wearing their ABG gear. And it's a little starstruck, right? Because I'm like, these guys I've listened to for over a year about Destiny content, and here they are. Drew, by the way, is way bigger than I thought he would be. He's a big guy. But I was a little bit intimidated, right? Because it's like, oh my goodness, what am I going to say? And at some point I just sucked it up and walked over and said, hey, not to interrupt, I'm Brian. I'm a big fan of what you do. Just want to say thanks. Good luck in the tournament. And then I kind of slunk back over to my table. That was good. Now, what was awesome was there was one person who kind of floated between the tables. And shout out to Thunda. Ray from Discard to Reroll, also Airboat Gaming. Awesome to meet him. He's a really fun guy, super nice guy. And so he would kind of hang out with us for a little bit and then go over to Arrowbrook and then come back over to us. And it was cool, right? Again, the community is just so great. That was awesome. And then, maybe I had a beer or two or three, but it's like, okay, we got to stop. We got Worlds tomorrow. We're competing. I know I was competing. I believe Brian was also competing. Brian, by the way, was running Maul, just like me. He was running Yellow Maul, but he was running Watto Maul, which should not be a surprise if you listen to Brian at all on Golden Dice. But it was cool to see so many people that were running Maul. So fast forward to day 2. We get up, I get there, and I grind a quick pod. I also, I went 2-0 before losing that last one, but I was feeling good because as I head into the tournament, I had a 7-5 record with my deck. And that's 12 games I played with Maul, Super Maul, and then the Mandalorian Super Commando. 12 games. I had not played that deck at all before I boarded my flight, the deck in its final form. But getting 12 games in really informed. It gave me a good insight into how the deck should play and things I should look for. And I had a winning record. So my goal going into the tournament was to win 2 games. And that's significant because I want to reiterate, outside of Greg and my son, the last 7 games I played against anyone else, I was 0-7, right? So at the Convergence box tournament, I went 0-4. At the Spark of Hope box tournament, I went 0-3 before I decided I'd had enough being kicked in the teeth and I left. And so outside of Greg or my son, I had not been very good. Now I get to Minnesota and all of a sudden through 3 pods, I'm 7-5. I got some confidence. I feel like I understand what I'm doing with my deck and I'm excited to go in. So now I'm going to walk you through my rounds. Right before I do that, however, I want to discuss the deck because I've made some changes to the deck from the last time. At the end of the last episode or whatever, I solicited suggestions. And thank you to everyone that sent me some feedback or sent me some suggestions. Many of that I applied, and I tweaked it. I fiddled with it. I put some cards in, I took some cards out. But just to give you an insight of what I ultimately ran, right? We had to punch in our decks by Thursday night. This is what it is, right? So Elite Maul, Mandalorian Super Commando. I'm running on Bendu's Lair, and I'm running the plot Retribution. My upgrades, I had 11 upgrades, 2 copies of armor plating, and 2 copies of Mandalorian van braces. I had 1 Dagger of Mortis, 1 Darksaber, 1 Donderbus blaster pistol, 1 Enfys Nest Electro Ripper, 1 Maul's lightsaber, 1 Recovered Sith lightsaber, and 1 Vibro Cutlass. I took out the DX guns. They're unblockable, but they also have a lot of modified sides. And in talking with Trey at Kingwood Hobbies, shout out Trey, his suggestion was, look, take out as many of those modify heavy dice because you want to be able to resolve them. And that made sense. And hence the Electro Ripper went in, hence the Donderbus stayed in, and some of those other things came out. I had 1 downgrade. I put a Chancellor's Edict in to kind of pop off shields as opposed to running Intimidate. So I took the 0-cost Intimidate out for the 1-cost Chancellor's Edict, because that removes all shields from a character, and when that character is defeated, you give a character 2 shields. So that's good. No supports at all. My events, I'd run 18 events, 2 copies of Active Cruelty, 2 Conflicted, 2 Desperate Measures, 2 Doubt, 1 Electromagnetic Pulse, 1 Fear and Dead Men, 2 Forsaken, 2 Hidden Motive, 2 Truce, and 2 Well Connected, and that was the deck. Now, when I got there, Alan, who again, Alan was the one that traded me my Maul dice, he had sent with Flockton, he had sent a pulse cannon to give to me, which is super nice. Alan, thank you so much. I received it before the tournament, but I honestly was too lazy to type in my entire deck list again on my phone. And so I left the pulse cannon out. After the tournament, when I went to pods, I put the pulse cannon in. Super fun to play. But for the tournament itself, I just didn't want to type it all in again. So I left the pulse cannon out. But going forward, yes, that deck is totally going to have the pulse cannon in there. It's such an amazing, amazing weapon. And that's the whole strategy of this deck, by the way. I guess I should dive into that. Is you want to load up the Mando as quickly as you can. Every turn, you want to put something on the Mando to trigger that power action, because they're going to target Maul. The opponent is always going to target Maul. I say always. One time in a pod that I lost, someone targeted Mando first. But the only thing I would ever put on Maul was either Maul's lightsaber, or if I needed an armor plating, or if I needed, if there was an opportunity to put a Dagger of Mortis or something like that. But everything else went on the Mando. And the strategy is to use that power action to ping damage. And then also, when Maul dies, and invariably he will die often, the Mando is left usually with most of his health and 2 or 3 weapons. And he can close games, which I learned is the bigger difference between yellow and red. Yellow Maul, I thought the significance was getting that money, right? I run 2 truces, I run 2 well-connecteds. But I learned in playing so many games with this that the real strength is that Mandalorian Super Commando can finish a game. He has damage on his dice, and he has shields on his dice. And if you get weapons on him while your opponent is trying to struggle to take out Maul, suddenly they kill Maul and they turn and look, and you've got a souped up Mando ready to go. All right, so we head into the tournament that started Friday morning, and so I wrote down some notes. I'm going to talk about what happened. I don't, it was a long time ago at this point, and I don't always remember everything that happened, but I will give you my best assessment. If not, I at least have the matchups of what's going on. All right, so my very first matchup was against DeAndre from Los Angeles. And this is, I guess, a local player from Kevin of the Roll On scene. Kevin, by the way, was running Maul. I believe he's running Red Maul. He wasn't playing until day 1B. But after the first 2 rounds, we sat down with Jedi Geek Girl and did a quick conversation about Maul and about where he fits in the meta. So I'm sure in the coming weeks, Jedi Geek Girl is going to release this World Spectacular. And so if you want to hear me and Kevin debate Maul, please tune in for that at the I Rebel Destiny podcast. Now, DeAndre, right out of the gate, like I'm not sure what I'm going to see. I'm hoping to avoid Raylo, and he's running Elite Yoda, Wizened Master, Single Die Cody, and Single Die Little Anakin. It's a Mill deck. And I'm just like, I wasn't planning on seeing Mill. And I certainly wasn't planning on seeing this hot take on Mill. I really didn't know. Obviously, Yoda can Mill. And then Cody is interesting because with Cody, his special, you can take control of the battlefield and use its claim action. And he was running the battlefield that makes you discard 2 cards off the top of your deck. And then Anakin and Anakin's pod racer. So I was just like, I was a little nervous, but at the same time, I said, hey, it's not dealing damage. So as long as I'm kind of smart about when to pitch a card, but if you know Maul, his power action, you can re-roll the die, but you have to pitch a card. And so we'll see. We'll see how it went. I won the roll-off, and I took my battlefield, but he had Across the Galaxy and flipped the battlefield. So things just got kind of out of control for a little bit. I will say in the first turn, he got down Anakin's pod racer, and it became pretty evident pretty quickly that I needed to get rid of that somehow. Thankfully, I was able to draw Desperate Measures, I believe, in the second turn, and so I got rid of that. I was able to take down Yoda first. He was the elite character, so I targeted Yoda first. I took him down, and then I worked my way down the list. I believe maybe I killed Cody second, and then Anakin was left. He had me down to, by the time the last round, I had 2 cards left in my deck, and I had the 5 cards in my hand. And using those cards, I was able to punch through and finish off, I believe, Anakin. And I won the game. But I was nervous because we were going through my deck pretty quickly. But I won, right? Round 1, I'm 1-0. I took down a mill deck. It was not a meta deck, so, props to DeAndre for bringing that. But I was happy to get the win because then I was halfway to my goal. Straight out of the gate, I'm 1-0. Now, I know when you're 1-0, you're going to face someone else that's 1-0. So I already immediately know, like, hey, this is awesome. I got to win. But I'm going to face someone else that went 1-0. And it's probably going to be a lot more challenging. And again, my goal that I stated was to win 2 games. But I'm not going to lie. After my pod performance going 7-5, I really said, you know what? I think I can get 3. That was my goal. Get 3. I don't know if I told a lot of people about it, but that was my goal. I'm going to get 3. Second game, I sit down against Tim Bunn. So Tim Bunn from Tulsa, Oklahoma. And you know the Bunn name, probably from Zach, who's one of the owners of Team Covenant. So this Tim is Zach's brother. And Tim sits down with Elite Jabba, Sentinel Messenger, and Wat Tambor. And I didn't exactly know what was coming. Obviously, Wat, I'm thinking it's a support deck, and you got Jabba with Elite, so he's trying to make money. And of course, he can pull out yellow events and whatnot. And I played it wrong. I won the roll-off, or maybe he won the roll-off, but either way, we took my battlefield, and he took shields, and he put them on Jabba. And I should have just gone ahead and targeted the elite character, but I rolled well. I power actioned well. I made a tactical error, and I went for the Sentinel first, and I actually killed the Sentinel Messenger round 1. 8 damage. Boom. Dropped him. Then I made a second tactical error and went for Wat Tambor, and I dropped Wat Tambor. And Jabba was there, and Jabba just kept getting money. And at some point, Tim had 8 resources. And I was sitting there thinking, like, what on earth? If he hasn't spent that money yet, what is he going to do with 8 resources? And there was that one fateful turn where he's like, entourage for 3. Let me go search for an entourage. Entourage for 3. Let me go search for a fickle. Fickle for 1. And then he had another fickle in his hand. And so he dropped 2 entourages, 2 fickle. He rolls that entourage special. He has like 5 scoundrels on the board that I can do nothing about. And it went downhill very, very quickly. So I think Jabba had 5 health on him left, but he just blew me out. Well played, Tim. Tim is someone who I've known through interaction with Twitter, and it was an honor to play against him. But man, I'm not saying I could have won that, but I think the lesson there was to target Jabba, target the elite character. And that really helped me hone in on who to target first, as opposed to just going for who's vulnerable, right? Just because someone's vulnerable does not mean they're the best person to take out. And in this case, I learned an important lesson. And I think as testament to my growth as a Destiny player, the ability to be able to learn from my mistakes and my losses is great. And even when I play Greg, we play anywhere from 5 to 7 games a night. That's awesome. But here I'm on my 14th match in less than 24 hours. And so you just start to get an idea of how things are going to go, right? I'm playing the same deck. I'm figuring things out. And yeah, it just helped. So after that game was over relatively quickly. So that's when Kevin and I recorded with Jedi Geek Girl. That was nice. I'm 1-1. I'm still halfway to my goal. I'm feeling good about it. And so next up is a man named Jacob. He was from Michigan. and he ran Han droids. So single die Han 4, Elite C3PO, and R2D2. And I was just like, ugh, droids. I had problems with droids in the pods the day before. I don't think I beat a single droid deck the day before. But I realized what I had to do, right? I had to go for C3PO because, man, that stupid ability of his to focus and then with R2 there to resolve a die, it's annoying. And so I was able to burst down C3PO in the second round, and then I went after R2D2. And that left Han with a Chewie's blaster on him, but he didn't roll that well, and I was able to get it done. I don't know if Maul was still alive, but, just, again, that Mandalorian Super Commando, every round you want to be able to put something or overwrite something onto the commando to just ping that free damage. And I got it done, and I won. I beat Han droids. I was 2-1 after 3 rounds. I had met my original goal. I was on cloud 9, right? I was feeling amazing about myself. I was smiling. I'd done it. Again, casual player. I know I'm running a deck that, as I talked with Jedi Geek Girl, it's kind of like Vader. A lot of it depends on the roll. It's not necessarily the most skilled deck to run because you're just rolling big sticks and hoping to hit. But boy, was it fun. And to go to start 2-1 was amazing. I go into round 4 and I play a man named Dan from Los Angeles. And he's running droids, but it's the chopper variant. So it's E-chopper, single die C3PO, single die R2D2. I didn't write enough notes, so I don't know exactly how it went. I don't know. I assume I probably went for chopper first, but I also could see that I might have gone for C3PO just because he's annoying. And then, you take him offline, and that certainly helps with the R2D2. But I won. I know, right? I'm just as surprised as you are. I hit the break. We had a 1-hour lunch break. I hit the break at 3-1. Holy effing S. I had taken Maul and then the Mando Super Commando to a record of 3-1. I was playing with house money at that point, right? 3 wins through the first 4 matches. It was incredible. Props to the Houston peeps that were there. Trey, Jordan, Jason, James. We all went to eat some tacos for our break. So we had a nice walk outside and just talking about each other's day. I know Trey, I think, was 3-1 at that point, and some of the others were hanging around 2-2 or 1-3. But it was nice to be able to be around some familiar faces and just to kind of celebrate the 3-1 start because, again, house money, right? I couldn't believe it. So we go back for the next matches. It's my 3rd droid deck in a row. I was playing against a man named Steven. I forget where Steven was from, so I apologize, Steven. But he was running Elite C3PO, R2D2, and Han. So this is the second time I've played against this deck. And sure enough, I did it again. I managed to beat Han droids. I don't know the details. I didn't take that good of notes. But I got the win. 4-1, people. 4-1, right? And again, all credit goes to the Mando Super Commando because he doesn't die first, usually. Everyone's targeting Maul, and I get that. So power actioning Maul, try to get his power action as many times as you can, and all of a sudden, even after Maul dies, they turn and look, and here's Mando with like a recovered lightsaber, an Electro Ripper, or maybe he has a Donderbus, and he's ready to go. And he closes games much more than a First Order Stormtrooper does, right? It's just, I think it's pretty evident. 4-1. Unbelievable. Going to the next round, I'm playing Jesse from West Virginia. Jesse is running a deck that I want to also tip my hat to. It is a Phasma 2 IG88. So we joked that this was going to be a fast match, and it certainly was, right? It was pretty quick. He did not get any bounties down on round 1, so that was helpful, and I rolled pretty well. I believe I may have killed Phasma first just because through the Maul's power action, damage starts to ramp up, and her health is not as high as IG88, and I believe he killed Maul. But at that point, most of the damage was done. I had Mando with a lot of other stuff on him. He missed some rolls. I made some rolls, and I escaped with a win. It took, I think, 12 minutes, and it was fast, and I was 5-1. And I don't know, people. I just told you how I haven't beaten anyone outside of Greg or my son in Texas. And here I am in Minnesota after 6 rounds of Star Wars Destiny with a deck I really had not fully played, and I was 5-1. It was amazing, but at that point, it was also a little I was starting to get a little anxious because I was on the cusp of something that I never fathomed possible. I was so confident that I would not even sniff Top Cut that I was flying out the next day. I was flying out at the middle of day 1B on Saturday, having zero expectation that I would somehow make it to play on Sunday. And yet, with 2 rounds to go, I was 1 win away. And I want to underscore that was not part of the plan, right? The plan was to go, have fun, meet a bunch of people, roll some dice, and just see how it went. But I would have never in a million years thought I'd go 5-1. Next up, what's funny is that, you're 5-1, you start finding yourself playing on higher tables. So suddenly it's like, hey, I'm on table 13. That's dangerously close to single digits. And then I look, they put up pairings. If you've never played in a tournament, they put up the pairings. Everyone scrambles to where they can look at the pairings. And I see my name, and next to my name is Mike Gem. And I am simultaneously ecstatic because Mike Gem, a.k.a. Bobby Sapphire, a.k.a. Bobo, is a celebrity of Destiny, right? He is also the reigning North American champion. And not that I immediately went on tilt, but a little bit, right? It's like, I'm going to play Mike freaking Gem at Star Wars Destiny in a tournament. And we're both 5-1. I'm not worthy, right? I shouldn't be there. I shouldn't even be there. We sit down. He's running chopper droids. So Elite Chopper, R2-D2, C-3PO. He wins the roll-off, but doesn't want to give me shields. He takes shields. He puts them on chopper. And Mike is a surgeon, right? He takes everything very deliberately. He's slow, not slow play, but he just doesn't rush anything. He thinks through, and it literally is like a surgeon. And Mike just carved me up. Everything he did it just seemed perfect. And I made some misplays, not that they would have impacted the game at all. I didn't kill a single character. And Mike just took down Maul and turned his attention and took down the Mando. And that was it. And I want to give props to Mike because he's a super nice guy. Even afterwards, he spent a few minutes with me and said, hey, I think you misplayed in the second round. Should have done this, and here's why. And that was nice. He didn't have to do that. He could have simply signed his sheet and been on with it, but I appreciated that very, very well, right? And that's going to be a great memory, like playing the North American champion in Star Wars Destiny at the tournament and getting just your head kicked in. I mean, that's something, right? I mean, you have to win enough to get there, and I got there. And so I was 5-2, and then it really sunk in that I had 1 match to go, and if I win that match, I qualify for Sunday. And yet, I'm getting on a plane on Saturday. It's tough. I really didn't know what to do, right? I didn't want to sit down and scoop because I want to play. I love the game. I want to play the game. I wanted to play the game. I want it to have integrity. I didn't want to sit down and just say, hey, congratulations, I can't go. And it really made me nervous. And I had to think about it. What am I going to do? If I lose, then obviously it's moot. I finished 5-3 and it's awesome. But I didn't want to lose, right? I wanted to play to win. I'm here to win. And yet that wasn't the attitude when I got on the plane to go to Minnesota. But at that point, I'm like, hey, I'm going to play to win. Because if this player, whoever it is, in the 8th round, if they want to earn their spot, they're going to need to get through me. And I think that's the best thing I can do to honor the game. I was 5-2. The odds are they were going to be 5-2. And let's play it out and just see how it goes. And if I were to win, I had to come up with something because I wouldn't be there on Sunday. And so pairings come out. And it's been great. I've won 5 matches. I've collected lots of tickets. Every time you win a match, you get 2 tickets. If you lose a match, you only get 1. So I'm just stockpiling some tickets that way. And one of the coolest things, I sit down against my opponent. His name is Nathan. He's playing Raylo, which is a deck I've dodged all day. It's a deck that I went 1-on-1 against pods. It's not a deck I wanted to see because I think he can just tank up so much. But what's amazing is that Nathan's like, hey, I listened to your podcast on the way to Minnesota. And I was like, holy cow, he's a fan. Or at least he knows of my podcast, right? He knows. He's like, you're running Maul, huh? And I said, yeah. And that just kind of took the edge off. We had a good time. We played an intense match. Kylo and Rey, man, it's a tough it's a tough game. It's crazy to see what happens. And I thought I played it pretty cleanly. He played it pretty well. I managed to take down Kylo in round 2. He managed to take down Maul afterwards. I just had to chip through shield after shield after shield, and I went into what ultimately was the deciding round. I thought he should have just rolled out immediately. I feel like he was on the take, and he didn't. He played an upgrade, and I don't exactly know how, but he had 1 health left, and I flashed an equipment that I could override, and that was the game. I won. It felt good. It felt great, right? I played a great game. I beat Raylo. It was awesome. And, we started putting our stuff away. I just asked him, I said, hey, how long are you in for? And he said, I'm staying through Sunday. And I I checked his name as the winner, because what else are you going to do, right? And I checked his name as the winner. I initialed as we were instructed to do. I passed it over to him, and I kind of left my finger so he could see. And he looked down, and once it registered what I had done, he kind of looked up, and I just said, hey, I'm flying home tomorrow. And he said, that's right, because he'd heard me on the pod. And I said, you're going to make day 2. Give him hell. And he was super appreciative of that. And, I don't know if that's the best thing to do, but it was the best thing for me to do at that time, because I found myself in a situation that I could not have fathomed being in. I just couldn't, right? I mean, I booked my flight knowing that I would not be in Top Cut, right? Out of 517 players, there was no way I was going to be in the top 64, right? That's what? The top 13%? Not a guy who can't even win at a box tournament. And yet there I was, right? I got the win. And then I scooped, and then Nathan got the win. So officially I finished 5-3, and I couldn't have been happier for Nathan. The fact that he's a fan of the pod made it all the more sweeter. He was super appreciative, gave me the tickets, gave me some cards, super great. And that was that. After I finished that match, I stood up and I ran into Lawton, which is a local Houston player here. He was playing on day 1B, and he's like, hey, what'd you do? And I said, I won. And he said, and what are you going to do? And I said, well, I won the match, but I marked him down as the winner. And he just kind of gave me yeah, that's the right thing to do. And ironically, when we got to Sunday, Nathan was paired off against Lawton in the top 64, and Lawton got the win. So it's weird, a lot of my circle, the people from Golden Dice and the people from the Scruffies, and they all knew the story. I wasn't even sure if I would talk about it, but I felt like I needed to talk about it. I meant no disrespect to the game. I honestly just not fathom being in that position. And at the same time, Nathan, just like me, Nathan had traveled, and Nathan had planned on being there through Sunday. And so he has every right to play for it. I didn't see myself as having the right to deprive him of that. I wasn't going to be there. So he took my place, and congratulations on that run. That's great. So I don't know. In talking with people, here's the takeaway. And I'm not trying to dwell on this too much, but if I were to go to this tournament, if I were to somehow make it, whatever I need to do, I'm going to make sure to honor the entire process, to just make sure I'm there the whole time. I didn't imagine doing as well as I did. I got put in a spot that was kind of strange. I handled it the best I could. And that's it. I'm happy. I'm moving on, right? I was done. I knew I'd be flying out the next day, and Nathan got to play. And so congrats to him. Congrats to everyone that made the top cut. There were 63 people that made the top cut at X and 2 or better. And, we know Andrew ultimately was the winner, and that's awesome. So I tried to follow along as best I could on Sunday to see how it went. And if you haven't checked that out, there's a lot of great streaming available to see the Top Cut tournament. So that was it. Here's a player that envisioned or hoping to win 2 games, to go 2-6, and unofficially I went 6-2, and I got good, right? And I don't mean that in a weird way or a conceited way. It's just that I played so much Destiny over the course of 2 days, and I played the same deck. By the time I left on Saturday, I had played 27 games with Maul Mando. I won 18 and I lost 9. I figured out how to play that deck, and I didn't win every game, but I won 2/3, which is crazy. And I did that. The next day, just to jump around a little bit, I guess I shouldn't jump around. I said I would do it. But after that last game against Nathan, and by the way, Nathan and I reached out over Twitter. We conversed about this, and he's totally fine with me because I wasn't sure if I'd even use his name because I don't want to throw any heat towards him. But to his point, and I agree, if someone's upset over that, then come on, it's a game, right? And if you traveled all the way there, you'd want to play on Sunday. After that tournament, I was on cloud nine. You have to imagine, right? I'm a casual player. I went 6-2. Coincidentally, that was the best mark of anyone from Houston at the time. Lawton went 6-2 on day 1B. Congratulations, Lawton. But I just felt amazing. And Richard from the scruffy-looking dice rollers, he went 6-2 with Red Maul, and he made it to day 2 with Red Maul. Super amazing. Congratulations, Richard. I was happy for anyone that made it into day 2 with Maul. All told, there were 3 Maul decks in the top 63. Only one Red Maul, and that was Richard. The other 2 were Yellow Maul. So there you go. Afterwards, we went to the meetup, which was at a bar or a pub not far away. And it was great, right? There were so many people there, right? The roll-on guys were there. Entourage Gaming was there. Members of the Hyperloops was there. Monk from Monk's Gaming Battlefield was there. Sarah and Amanda from iRebel were there. And so many more people. Just people I met through pods, people I met through the tournament. They were there. I gave out my 50 coasters, whether people wanted them or not. I just kind of handed them out. People seemed to enjoy them. I gave a coaster to Jeremy Zwern. How crazy is that? He was there. I was also kind of starstruck. At one point I said, "Hey, really liked your game. Thanks." He said, "Yeah, thank you very much." But then later I went up and I said, "Hey, I'm a content creator. I made these coasters. Didn't know if you'd want one." And he said, "I'd love one, absolutely." So thank you, Jeremy. That was also great. And just everyone was so nice. Mike, you bought me a beer. Appreciate that. Man, I know after a few beers in, I felt like I cornered the roll-on guys, Corwin and Kevin and producer Pops. But man, it's just so great to talk to everyone. That was so great. At some point, the Artificery guys that were hosting it, they took a moment and thanked and called out the content creators. And I just want to say that basically he said, "Hey, I'm gonna list some content creators or some sponsors, and if I forget anyone, I'm sorry." And at that point, I was like, "Well, they'll forget me, and I'm totally cool with that, right? Because I'm Jank It Up Fuzzball. I am not Artificery. I am not iRebel. I am not Aerobrick Gaming." But I was literally touched when they said "Jank It Up Fuzzball." There was a mild roar that was just as loud, if not louder, than some of the other content creators. And if you were part of that, thanks. Really, it made my night, right? It made my day. Going 6-2 was cool, and it was great, and I'll never forget it. But being in this room with people who do the thing you do and play the game you love, and you're all there, but you never really know if what you do resonates. You never really know that. But then to have just that kind of cheer, it meant a lot. It meant a lot to me, right? I'm solo. There's no one else in this room tonight. It's just me, and it was great. So if you were there and if you raised your voice, it did not go unnoticed, and I just want to say thanks. That was a fun night, long night. I managed to eat after I had a few pints because that was important. Next day, I got up. I was still smiling ear to ear. I just couldn't believe it the day before. I went to grind some pods. I met up with the scruffy-looking dice rollers. We got in a pod. I 3-0'd a pod for the first time, so that was awesome. And then I squared up against Luke, Dr. Jenkenstein. He was running Vader. I was running Maul, and he killed me, right? It was a really intense game. It was one of the funnest matches, I think, honestly. And Luke, I said that to you, but I stand by it. Luke, his Vader Greedo versus my Maul Mando, it was super close, big swings, big rolls, and I rolled in and missed, and he rolled in and got it, and that was it. And it was just amazing. It was super fun. It's what Destiny should be. It was great. And I went 1-2 in that last pod. And that was it. I thought that was my last match. The last match I beat a Elite or a Phasma 3, and I think a Mud Trooper. And that was cool. I managed to avoid that. We were both running Retribution. But that was a good match. I thought it was done. I thought it was completely done. But Richard, who made day 2 with his Red Maul, we kept talking about Red Maul versus Yellow Maul. He challenged me to a Maul off, and in between a pod, we did that. I do want to mention that on that last day, I subbed in the Pulse Cannon. I took out the Dark Saber and put in the Pulse Cannon, and boy, oh boy, is that fun when that gets on the table. And against Richard, he missed He missed Maul's power action on a Maul Saber, which is very fortunate. I think I missed Maul's power action on Maul, so that was kind of even. But man, I got that pulse cannon on the Mando, and then like 2 damage, reroll, another damage, reroll, a disrupt, and it just pinged away. And I took down Maul, and he basically conceded because all he had left was the Faust, and I had Mando with a pulse cannon and an armor plating. So come at me, bro. I kid, Richard, I kid. It was super great. So let the record show that my first match in Minnesota was against Red Maul and I lost. And my last match in Minnesota was against Red Maul and I won. And I think there's no better analogy for my time in Minnesota than that, right? I got so much better at playing Destiny by just playing so much of it over the course of 2 days. And that was it. After that, I kind of like took my tickets up. I bought some shields. I bought some monochromatics. I didn't buy a playmat because I was rocking the sweetest playmat there is, which is Savage Asajj 2020, designed by yours truly. There's only 4 of those in existence. And shout out to Brian. Brian from Golden Dice was playing on his copy of that, and he gave his to the judges. The judges had a tournament afterwards, and the winner got to keep Brian's mat. So huge hat tip to Brian for donating his mat. But I didn't need another mat, so I just bought a bunch of monochromatics and, had a good time. Seriously, if you've never been to an event like that, go. And Worlds was amazing. And I know it's invite only, at least the big tournament's invite only next year. But if they have last chance qualifying, I think I might go just because of the time spent in the pods, the time spent at dinner, the time spent hanging out with people, right? Just meeting people that you interact with online. It was amazing. Talking to people like Mike and Nathan and Kenton, people that just came up to me and said, hey, I listen to your pod. It's just great. And introducing myself to other content creators, and it's awesome, right? People love Destiny. The community is super great. Yeah, you'll hear about a few bad eggs, but out of 507 people, there's going to be that. But it was awesome. I had a super good time, and I did way better than I thought possible. So, I got nothing but great things to say about Worlds. I'm excited. My first Prime is going to be in Houston in January. I can't imagine the meta will be any different. So, Maul Mando coming at you, Houston. Just be ready, right? Who knows? We'll see. The deck, I'll tweak the deck. I'll further tweak the deck. There's some cards I ended up never playing or never feeling good playing. So I think there are improvements to be made. But I'm gonna give Maul Mando a break. Some people joked that with my success, it's no longer, it's false advertising being janked up fuzzball, and that's probably true. But I'm going to give Maul Mando a break. I have this awesome Forlom Mauler Mythal AR TIE Fighter deck I've been meaning to sleeve up, and I believe Greg's going to come over this week, so I'll give that a go. Man, I've been talking forever. I don't even know how long it is, but that's Worlds, and I know I'm forgetting stuff. Let me check my notes if I forgot something too crazy, but thank you to everyone who hung out with me and said hello. I gave away lots of alt art. I gave away lots of stickers. I gave away all those coasters. It was great. And I can't wait to hopefully do it again. All right, before I just ramble on, as I've known to do, I have a pack. I'm going to open a pack. Here it is. It is Spark of Hope with C-3PO. I wonder what's up on C-3PO with that new trailer that dropped, huh? I'm a little suspicious of what's going to happen to our little perfect gentleman in Rise of Skywalker, but we will see. This pack is donated from Trey at Kingwood Hobbies. Trey again came through with a box of packs. Trey, thank you so much. It was great seeing you and the Houston crew up in Minnesota. Having those familiar faces was just really comforting for someone that has never traveled before for Destiny. It was great. Thank you for these packs. Let's open it up and see what we get. All right, the die is yellow. It is a yellow die. Here we go. Let's see who it is, or what it is. Excuse me. It is a rare. It is IG-2000. It is a unique support vehicle. It is 3 cost. It is villain. I believe this is IG-88's ship. The text reads, this support gains Bounty Hunter while you control a Bounty Hunter. Decrease the cost on this die by 1 while you control IG-88. The die sides read 2 ranged, 3 ranged, 3 ranged for a resource, 1 shield, 1 resource, and a blink. This is pretty sweet, especially in an IG-88 deck, obviously. It's 3 costs, so it costs a lot to get down, but if IG-88's around, it's pretty awesome. Yeah, I mean, decrease the cost on this die by 1. And there's that 3 side you get for free if you spot IG-88. All right, so that's the rare for this pack. The uncommon, Mysteries of the Force. Some beautiful art. It is a support. It is a 1-cost neutral blue support. Action. Discard the support from play and remove 5 of your dice, showing 1 of each of these symbols: melee, shield, resource, special, and blank. Then play up to 3 upgrades from your hand and or discard pile for free. Holy cow, is that situational, right? You have to have a melee, a shield, a resource, a special, and a blank. And then you play this for 1, and then you get to play 3 upgrades from your hand or discard pile for free. I would love to see this in action. That's all I got. I mean, it would be amazing. I don't think I'm ever going to put it in a sleeve, but who knows? And let's get to the common cards. First one up is one we talked about, I believe, last week. Act of Betrayal. It is a 2-cost blue villain event. It has Snoke being struck with the lightsaber. Remove an upgrade die, then deal damage equal to the value showing on that die to a character. So, Act of Betrayal. Next up, we have the Tico Pendant. It is a red hero upgrade equipment. It is 0 cost. It has an action that reads, exhaust this upgrade to move 1 damage from another character to attached character, or up to 2 damage instead if the other character has a copy of this upgrade on it. So I've mentioned this before, way back in the Pendant on Zombies episode, covering the box tournament battle from Spark of Hope release. But now I'm suddenly looking at this hero equipment and thinking about the Wookiees that were spoiled over during Worlds. And wow, being able to move some damage from one Wookiee to another, because some Wookiees get a boost if they're damaged or wounded. That suddenly becomes interesting. So pendants on Wookiees. Let's get at it. Lastly, last card of the pack is a yellow neutral event. It is 1 cost. It is Outpace. Spot a yellow character to choose 1. You can reroll up to 3 dice. You can force an opponent to lose 1 resource, or you can remove a leader die. It is 1 cost, and you have to spot a yellow character, so it's not the greatest card in the history of the world. But if you're running a mono yellow deck for some reason, I think this could come into play. It has some versatility. You can remove a die. It has to be a leader die. You can also spend 1 to. I don't really like the idea of spending 1 to just make your opponent lose a resource, but you can also reroll up to 3 dice. So I can see that coming in pretty nice. Not the best card, but certainly there. I think of those commons, Tico Pendant is one I'm certainly most interested in. So to recap, we're back on yellow, my friends. Yellow is by far the most common, most frequent, rare, or I haven't pulled any legendaries yet, so yes, we'll say rare card I pull. This is the IG 2000. It is a villain support vehicle. The uncommon was Mysteries of the Force, a blue neutral support. And then the 3 common cards were Act of Betrayal, a 2-cost blue villain event, Tico Pendant, a 0-cost red hero upgrade equipment, and Outpace, a 1-cost yellow neutral event. Thank you for the pack, Kingwood Hobbies. Really, really appreciate it. Awesome as always. So, hey, we're getting ready to wind down. I really appreciate you listening to this super long episode about me, just kind of talking about Worlds and how it was. I want to encourage you to follow me on social media, or you can engage with me on social media. On Twitter, I'm JankItUp. On Instagram, JankItUpFuzzball. You can also reach me directly at jankitupfuzzball@gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook. Just search for JankItUpFuzzball. So just to recap, Worlds was fantastic. I played way better than I ever thought possible. And, the best part, even more so than going 6-2 unofficially, was just meeting so many people and sitting down and chatting and grinding pods and just celebrating this game, celebrating this community, because it is a really great community. And I think this event helped underscore that for me. And just so thank you. If you came up and introduced yourself, thank you. If, I know a lot of you, I really enjoyed just talking to so many people and handing out stuff. And I hope if for some reason our paths didn't cross or I missed you, then reach out now, right? Reach out, let me know. Maybe our paths will cross down the line. Wow, yeah. Like I said, there's a giveaway at the end of this episode. I'm giving away a Grievous monochromatic card. So you'll have directions on how you can enter at the end. If you listen through after the music, there will be directions for that. But in the meantime, give Maul Mando a try, right? I'm not the creator of that deck, and I certainly made some adjustments to it based on what other people have read. But boy, I do think it is the superior Maul deck. And so for all the people that really think Red Maul wins, man, just give Yellow Maul a try, right? With Mando. Let Mando take all your upgrades and equipments and weapons and do good things with them. Even when Maul dies, he will get you some wins. So there you go. It's time to sign off, and I sign off the same way. And I promise that next time we talk, I'll be playing some jank. So that's my plan, and that's what I'm going to do. And I encourage you, as always, play some jank, roll some dice, have some fun. Thank you for listening to Jank It Up Fuzzball. We're entering year 2. Let's make it a great one. We'll talk to you soon. All right, if you're here, you're wanting to know how can I enter this contest to win a monochromatic General Grievous? And it's very simple. All you need to do is reach out to me via on Twitter or on Facebook after this episode posts. As always, I will post a link to the episode page, and you can comment either through Instagram, through Facebook, through Twitter, or you can reach me directly, jankitupfuzzball@gmail.com. And all I want to know is, what is one of your best ideas for General Grievous, right? The starter set Grievous for a team. What's your best idea for a team? But you cannot use Sentinel Messenger. So do not use Sentinel Messenger. What are some of your other takes? What are some spicy takes, some janky takes? It doesn't matter. But I just want to know, what are some of your creative takes on how to use General Grievous? Who do you pair him with? What is his team's going to be? But not using Sentinel Messenger, because he was a star at Worlds, pairing with Afro Sentinel Messenger, also pairing with Forlom Sentinel Messenger. So let's take the Messenger out of the equation. What do you got? Now, as long as you enter, I'm going to then randomly select a winner. I'm not going to choose my favorite. It's going to be completely objective in terms of randomly choosing a winner. But the proper way to enter is to submit your crazy jank idea or just creative competitive idea for how to build around Grievous without including Sentinel Messenger. Okay, that's it. So let's say I will draw a winner on Halloween. So we'll say Thursday, October 31st. Based on all the entries that I have, I will draw a winner, and then I will happily mail this monochromatic Grievous to you. I'll probably throw in a jank sticker along the way, and happy to get it to someone. Thanks a lot for listening. Good luck in the giveaway, and we will talk to you soon. I promise, more jank. All right, thanks a lot.